Interesting thing about this building architecturally, this shorter portion of the building right here has no foundation on the ground. It's being held up on the roof level entirely. The reason for that is trains run underneath here. Union Station is just a couple blocks down, so when they built this building, they weren't allowed to disrupt train travel at all, which wasn't a problem for the taller portion. They could dig a foundation, but they couldn't here without disrupting train travel. So they had to come up with another way. And it's being held up through a process called cantilevering. You see those trusses that run on the roof? They run down like a spine. It's being held up on the roof level. Kind of like the same cantilever is kind of the way a balcony is held up when it comes out of a building. Another way to describe it is if you take like a big book and hung it halfway up the edge of a table and put weight on the side where the table is, that's going to hold up the other end. That's how that shorter portion is being held up. This is 2 North Riverside Plaza. This is the first building in the world built under a concept that's called Pier. It's an idea from here in Chicago. Like I said, Union Station is just down here and trains run underneath. And years ago, the railroads owned all this land from here to 16 blocks to the west, all railroads. And they wanted to make more money, so they came up with an idea that they could sell or lease the air above their land without actually selling their land. So they could keep their trains, trains underneath, they keep their trains there, but let people build above them and charge them for it. It took a while for that to get settled in court, but once it did, it became the international standard. So all these buildings you see here that run atop these train tracks, they don't actually own any land in Chicago. They just own or lease air above somebody else's land. Union Station just down the street is the busiest train station in America. You can take Amtrak's all over the country, also up to Canada.
Willis Tower.
Also metro trains. We'll take you out to outer suburbs, all the way up to Kenosha, Wisconsin, all the way to South Bend, Indiana. We go around. If you're traveling by train while you're here, make sure you check out the main terminal at Union Station. I wouldn't go out of my way to see it. But if you're there anyway, you should check it out. It's very pretty, designed by Daniel Burnham. It gives you the feeling that you step back in time, like you're in the 20s or 30s. It's also where they shot a very iconic scene from the movie Untouchables, a movie about Al Capone with Robert De Niro and Kevin Costner. Very iconic scene shot there. Have you seen that movie? Adams Street, if you head east on Adams Street to Adams, Michigan, you'll find a store from 66. Starts at Adams, Michigan. Starts here in Chicago, and then over Route 66 ends. LA, California, right? It goes right into the Santa Monica Pier. Santa Monica, California. Goes to the south branch of the river, and this is our crown jewel. Back to, are we turning around here, or we keep going? Okay. That is our crown jewel. That is the Sears Tower. Some people call it the Willis. Yeah. I'll tell you about that later. Yeah, highly recommend checking out the sky deck. Up there. Another interesting thing about the Sears Tower is actually 9 different towers of different lengths. Can you imagine if you took 9 tubes of different lengths and put the tallest one in the middle and bundled them all together? That's how the Sears Tower is being held up. It's also the Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building in Dubai, is being held up using the same architectural technique. If you head east on Monroe Street to Monroe and State, you'll find the Bank of America Theater, home of Broadway in Chicago. If anyone's interested in seeing a Broadway show while you're in town, that would be the place to go. I don't know what's there right now. Book of Mormon was just there, but I believe it closed, so something else is there now. Definitely an old, beautiful theater. There's 3 buildings here. Let's go. Anyone know what a mercantile exchange is? It's kind of like a stock exchange. They don't trade stocks from companies, they trade commodities. Things like oil, gold, or silver. Also agricultural products like wheat or pork bellies. If you've ever seen the movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd, that's what they were. They're commodities brokers. This center part is the big trading floor. It's not mostly electronically now, but in the old days, it's where you see guys yelling and giving weird hand signals, trading paper. They did that all there. Big trading floor has no pillars holding up the roof. The roof's being supported on the outside by these towers. They're designed to splay out a little bit, so it's kind of like if you and a friend grab the blanket, lean back, and hold it tight, that's what holds up the roof. This is Madison Street. This divides north and south in Chicago. So we're practically back on the north side. It's called Lyric Opera Bridge because this is the home for the Lyric Opera, the Civic Opera building. This building has a nickname. It's called Insul's Throne. You see, it's kind of shaped like a throne. You see that tall back, and this is the seat in the middle, and the armrests on the side. It was built by a guy named Samuel Insull. That's why they call it Insul's Throne. He was kind of a tycoon, or not kind of, he was a tycoon here in Chicago in the 20s. Born in England, but he made his fortune here. He owned a lot of railroads, utilities, companies that became Commonwealth Edison and People's Gas. I don't know if you've ever played Monopoly with someone weird who only likes to buy the railroads and utilities, but he was like that, but in real life. Very wealthy man. He built an opera building next before he goes. He did it for his wife. She was a failed opera singer in New York. She auditioned for the Metropolitan Opera a number of times and never made it. So she wanted her own little place to do opera here in Chicago, so he gave her that building as a gift. I got my girlfriend a juicer for her birthday. Black and Dr. Obviously a very wealthy man if he can give his wife that. He didn't die wealthy though. The stock market crashed in 29, the Great Depression hit him hard, so he died broke. One thing you'll notice about Chicago, it's very big and very crowded, but it's always getting bigger and more crowded. Right here alone, you've got 1, 2, and in the distance there's a third new building being built. They're always finding room to build new places. Come back here and do this tour again in 5 years, you'll find probably a couple new buildings, more buildings. This building right here, this is the widest it's going to get at the base. It's going to get wider as it goes up. You picture like a muffin, the top of a muffin, how it hangs over without being supported underneath. That's more or less going to be supported as it gets wider as you go up. Again, coming back to Wolf's Point, this is where Chicago was founded. We first voted to incorporate the town in 1833 with 150 people. It's funny, you don't think of Chicago as a frontier town, but in the 1830s, this is exactly what it was. It could have been New Englanders, French Canadians, and American Indians all around Wolf's Point, all trading furs. Incorporated in the city 4 years later with 4,100 people. Guys, that's the north branch of the river up that way. That's the only branch that's not go back, it still flows its normal way. And that first bridge there after the open one is the Kinsey Street Bridge. Something happened there a couple years ago. You might have heard about it on the news. Dave Matthews, man, is in town.
Yeah. I know about that.
Yeah, and they stopped their tour bus on the way out of town to empty their toilet for their tour bus into the river. Which you're not supposed to do for water. The way it works is it's passing underneath right when they get it. So they empty the toilet over a bunch of nice tours. It was gross, but they sued and got a lot of money. So with any luck, it'll happen to us today, guys. Guys, at Chicago Sun-Times, they used to be where the Trump Tower is. They moved over here. Some famous writers for the Sun-Times over the years, Roger Ebert, the film critic, also Ann Lander, was a columnist for the Chicago Sun-Times. This big behemoth of a building here, that's the Merchandise Mart. Upon its completion in 1930, it was the largest building in the world. It held that title for 15 years until the Pentagon took it over in 1945. The Pentagon is slightly larger. This building is so big it's got its own train stop on the Brown and Purple lines, the Merchandise Mart stop. Also it had its own zip code, 60654 is all mail going to that building. Again, built in 1930 by Marshall Field, the department store magnate. If you know about history, 1930, not a good time for merchandising or the economy in general. It's right when the Great Depression started. So he had to sell that building shortly after. He sold it to Joseph Kennedy, who's the patriarch of the Kennedy family. Father of JFK, Robert and Teddy Kennedy. The Kennedy family owned that building until 1998. Okay, guys, we pass under Wells Street. You take a look over here. The Chicago West Steakhouse is. That building is 300 north of Sal. That building is certified LEED Platinum. Anyone know what that means? It means it's highly energy efficient, very green building, very new initiative happening. They actually pull water from the river for their cooling system, and they filter it and send it back in, so they actually clean the river for it. There's a garden on the roof, not like a rose garden, but like a natural Illinois prairie style garden, the way that land naturally was before we started building. It helps reduce the urban heat island effect. They also collect rainwater in the city for manufacturing. It's the first time we saw population in the city. Mostly because of the Canada Reef. Invented manufacturing right over there at the International Harvester Company. That black building real quick with the two antennas sticking up is Hancock Center, the fourth tallest building. That's where Chris Farley lived and died in 1937. It's also where Barack took Michelle Obama on her first date. There's a restaurant on the 95th floor called the Signature Room.
I'd still like to go there.
See the peacock up there? This is NBC Towers. Good example of Art Deco architecture. Adrian Smith designed this as well, same guy who did the Trump Tower. A lot of famous TV shows have shot here over the years. The Jerry Springer Show used to shoot here, also Jerry Jones. Currently Steve Harvey Show and Judge Mathis. There's the Arcs of Water. But we're going to have to hold off because it'll rain on us if we go under. It's just too cold. Chicago. We had the NATO Summit in 2009. All foreign heads of state, dignitaries stayed here. This is also where the president will stay when he's in town. He's got a house on the south side, but he'll stay here. The reason for that is those top 3 floors are all bulletproof glass. There's also a helipad on the roof. And when the president's in town, they'll actually shut down the river so you can escape the river, the street, or the helicopter should something happen.
Wow.
So guys, we're going to have to hold up. So we will get rain out if we go under. Anyone have any questions? Well, we got some time to kill. She asked about the Opera House, the throne. It faced to the west with its back to New York because his wife never got hired. If you notice also in the Opera House, Civic Opera building, there was no U. The U was a V. I don't know if you noticed that. That's an homage to Roman architecture. In Latin, there is no letter U. They use the letter V. Just an homage to Roman style classical architecture. Any other questions? Well, we got some time to kill. Is everyone having fun? Are you learning a lot? I like the very iconic highway here in Chicago. Most Chicagoans call it Lakeshore. Some call it by its initials, LSD. If someone tells you to take LSD, they mean Lakeshore Drive. Interesting thing about that bridge, a homeless man was living in it in 2004. His name was Richard Dorsey. He climbed underneath and built a little enclosure underneath the bridge, and he tapped into the bridge's electricity. So when they found him in there, he had a TV and a PlayStation and a microwave and a mini fridge and a nice little setup built. He claimed to have been living there for 4 years. The city said he couldn't possibly have been there more than 3 months. Somebody was lying. I happen to think it's the city. I think someone wasn't doing their bridge inspections properly. They're trying to cover their butt. But either way, 3 months or 4 years, he had a nice little setup going while it lasted. You see where this white wall is here where it says Case Foundation? This is going to be home to our tallest building. The Chicago Spire is going to be here. Sears Tower, which I mentioned, is 1,400 feet high. Chicago Spire is going to be 2,000 feet high. It's going to be right there. It's due to be completed in 2010. You notice it's a bit behind schedule. The money fell through, unfortunately, so it's on hold. But if anyone's really interested in architecture, you should look it up. Very pretty design, designed by a Spanish architect, this guy named Calatrava. And he imagined that before Chicago was even a city, he imagined the Miami Indians building campfires along the banks of the Chicago River. And he imagined smoke from the campfire spiraling into the sky. So that's what he made the design look like. It was a white, spirally corkscrew thing when it went 2,000 feet in the air. You Google it, the Chicago Spire.
Well, yes and no.
One day,
I think it's going to get colder.
It'll come through, and that building won't be built. So guys, we're back at Navy Pier. Navy Pier was built in 1916. That's why they're doing so much construction. There's 100 next year. They want it looking good. It was initially called Municipal Pier number 2. The reason for that, Daniel Burnham's plan initially called for 5 piers, and this is the only one we ever built. Chicago, historically, shipping has always been a major part of our economy. The access to the Atlantic River through the Great Lakes, also access to the Mississippi, was a crucial part of our economic growth, the entire Midwest, really. However, once railroads took over, there's a lot less call for shipping, so we didn't need any more piers, so one was enough. It was renamed Navy Pier shortly after World War I, to honor sailors who died in World War I. In World War II, the Navy used Navy Pier to train fighter pilots. President George H.W. Bush got his pilot training there for World War II. The reason why we train Navy pilots here is because it's safe in the center of the country. Lake Michigan is the only Great Lake entirely within the borders of the United States.